especially for new filmmakers. Learning from other people's experiences is the best way you can possibly learn. And then doing it yourself. Doing it yourself is going to be your biggest lesson. For my first, you want to make an instructional video, like a one-shot deal, like some kind of an instructional, like a how-to. Okay, Gapper, that's great. I say, especially for instructional, do you think, Gapper, out of curiosity, are you going to just have one location and kind of almost like me sitting here? Kathy says, and you won't make the mistakes we made. Exactly. This is the whole reason Kathy and I are doing these Periscopes is we think if we can, hello, Elliot, welcome. Hello, Courtney. Hello, welcome, you guys. If we can give some helpful hints to people who are doing it for the first time, then maybe it will save you. Hi, Courtney. Maybe it'll save you guys a lot of time and hopefully money, because I think I lost money not knowing some of these things. Well, I know I lost money not knowing some of these things, because if I just would have paid the right person in the first place, or known where to go to, I think, think like police traffic stop scene. Oh, so you're actually going to be on location, Gapper. Like, it's a locational thing. Like, you would go from location to location? I'm curious. Or is it going to be in one location? But if we can, like I was saying before, sorry, I'm like going all around. Okay, yes. Write a book. Your tips are incredible. I don't know if anybody wants them. That's, well, maybe, Kathy, maybe you and I should make a book together. What do you think? Because I think I've made 4 films, but Kathy, how many films have you made now? So you're about to publish yours. Oh, good. Well, then, you know what? If Kathy's making the book, that's great. Then Kathy's doing it. I would. And I'm not nice to anyone. Courtney, you're hilarious. Okay, so let's get on to how to assemble the right crew. First of all, you would have to know 10 pages for $5 on iTunes. Oh, that'll be, yeah, there you go. 10 pages. The first one is don't suck. Page 1. Thank you for inviting followers, you guys. So here's my number 1 tip is knowing the people that, if you don't know the people that you've hired, that the primary crew members that you have, that's right, don't suck, right? Oh my God, so don't suck. Okay, so if you're going to really assemble your crew, and especially if you're a first-time filmmaker, which is why this is important for me to know, like, how big of a crew is it going to be? How big of a project is it going to be? The biggest lesson for me is, and I've said this before, and I really mean it, no assholes on set. And the way you can assure yourself of that and with your crew is to, once you, like, for instance, I was not the director on my film. I was a producer and a writer on this last film. I hired a director, and the reason I hired that director was because she had more experience and she had access to an enormous amount of crew members that she had already worked with on different sets. And this is very, very important, because eventually, as you make more and more films, you're going to accumulate people that you can trust on a film because they've worked with you once, there were no issues, or if there was an issue, you need to replace that particular position, that hat, as we talked about last time I was here. Yeah, Kathy, you know what? We should do a film together. That's what's going to have to happen, Kathy. Absolutely, because we think a lot alike, I think. I like to think we think a lot alike. That's what I'd like to. Same here, Courtney. Okay, we'll just all get together and make a film. How's this sound? Okay, so in order to accomplish this no asshole rule on set, what you have to do is you have to know that the people that you've worked with, they have all worked with them on another set before. So this is like, how do you come up with that first person? Well, for me, it was meeting Mandira, who was my director. I ended up meeting her at the Garden State Film Festival when both of our films were showing. So I got to see her film. I knew what I liked about it. And I knew that I had like 3 days basically of running around with her and seeing other films and getting to build a relationship and really kind of understanding that we had a simpatico view of the world. And most importantly, when I hired Mandira, I hired her because I could tell that no matter what happened, she wasn't going to bail on the project. She definitely she cared about creating good work. She had a perfection-like quality to her that I also have. Now, you may not be like me, and you may be more easygoing and a lot more laid back and a lot less anal retentive than I am. So I'm going to want to work with, because it's my personality and I know how I work, I'm going to be looking for other fellow anal retentive people. I know that, like, I'm a stickler and crazy stickler for details, and I'm not going to finish something until I know all my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed. I knew when I met Mandira that she had that same type of mentality. Like, we weren't going to start pre-production on anything until we knew we had everybody together. I guess it's our pre-production technically, but that we had assembled the right team. So because I was just a writer and a producer and an actor, okay, so I wasn't coming at it from being a filmmaker first, because I knew that, and though I had shot 3 other films, I found out by shooting those first 3 films what I didn't know. And what I knew I had to do was create a crew that was, you might want, oh, absolutely, Kathy's saying you might want a few easygoing types to balance it out, which we did find. But the way we found that was by hiring a DP, I took a long time to find the right DP. But Mandira did that legwork for me, where she had already worked with these DPs. Our rule was we didn't want anybody on set that we hadn't already worked with before. So she had worked with Rodin Hamidi, who was our cinematographer, on a couple of different projects, and she thought he was good. And she also had worked with 2 or 3 other guys that I looked at. I looked at their reels, and primarily, she says, I like you, but my DP is really easygoing. My DP is also like relaxed and calm and much more zen than I am. But how did you, was that Courtney? Put that up again. I didn't get to see it. I'm so sorry. He is much more zen than I am, and he's not a person that's like, no, like he doesn't have that personality, but he's not going to shoot until he knows everything is set up right for his lighting and his shot, and you know what I mean? So in that way, we're not the same personalities, but we care about the work. Does this make sense? Oh yeah. Like Rodin and I, we didn't, how did I go about finding a DP aside from working with him in the past? Well, there's 2 different websites I think that are and Kathy, please speak up if you, I'm going to come back to that, Courtney, in just a second. The first, I'm going to answer what happened with Mandira was she sent me, I knew that I had a lot of night shots with people of different color in it. And I knew that I wanted the lighting had to be exceptional in order to balance out, look at how white I am, right? So I had to balance out, I knew I was playing the white cop and the black cop was going to be next to me in all these scenes and all these night scenes. And there were also other people of color in it, and it was going to be shot at night. And I just wanted this to look beautiful. I did not want grainy or garish, or I just wanted the lighting to be, I needed somebody who could shoot at night. So what I told Mandira was, you have to, whoever DPs you look at right now, I'm only going to interview them or meet with them after I've seen reel and significant reel that was shot at night. Because there was no point in me meeting somebody if I couldn't see how they shot at night, because a lot of our scenes were shot at night. So does this make sense? So that's how I pre-screened based on her going out to find them. Now, Courtney just asked a question, which was, what if you've never had a DP before? Well, there's several different ways. First of all, you can start going to networking groups. Like last night, I did a Periscope from Film Interchange, and you can go to like Rain Dance. You can go to all sorts of different workshops that are held around the city. Stage 32 does a bunch of different workshops here in the city or wherever. Or if you are not in a major metropolitan area like LA or New York or Chicago or wherever, you start to look for their reels. Their reels for people who are DPs is normally at Vimeo. So rather than going to YouTube, which will have a greater resource of just content, but most often what's going to happen is if they're serious about what they're doing, they've made a reel and they're going to put it at Vimeo because it's You can get it at a higher resolution, and I don't know the technical term for it, but it looks a hell of a lot better on Vimeo because they put it up at they have a greater capacity, and they're showing film there. That's that channel was kind of built around filmmakers. And so if you go to vimeo.com, vimeo.com, and you search for DP, director of photography, or cinematographers reels, you can find it. But the way to actually really suss them all out is to put an ad on mandy.com, or put an ad like at start doing some searches at Stage 32, because Stage 32 and Mandy are kind of like, not Facebook, but almost like a classified ads for people who work in film. Now, if you put an ad up saying that you want a DP, you're going to get, if you say that there's pay, you're going to receive a much higher, check their credits, absolutely. Once you've, right, well, this is them saying, look at their reels first, but then check their credits, their IMDb credits, because some people are telling you, and this is not to disparage anybody's credits, because Lord knows we're all getting in at some level, and you can't start in the film industry without starting in the film industry, and you can't get any credits until you're like out there doing it. So if there's student credits, like, you have to weigh your project and say to yourself, how important is this to me? Have they only done student films? That could be a positive for you financially, or that could be a negative for you if you truly are going to be relying on that DP. And let me tell you that if you are an actor, a hyphenate that is now going to start in filmmaking for the first time, your DP, and you think you're going to direct it, you better really hire a good DP, because that DP, some DPs are also directors. And so if you have a DP and this is going to be your first time directing, you're going to want to hire a DP who has some directorial experience as well, because they're going to know how to set up the shot list with you when you go to set up the shot list. That's going to be very important. So if you aren't hiring a director and you're going to be a first-time director on this project, you really, really want to hire a DP with a lot of experience, probably not somebody directly out of film school. It depends on how important this project is to you. Like, is this your experimental, or is this going to be what you would call your calling card piece, your first, even if it's a short, if this is a piece that is going to be what you consider your calling card piece, then you have to hire a really good DP. Now, you're saying to yourself, well, how do I pay for that? And Kathy has done a wonderful series on credits. Yes, okay, this is Kathy's saying, my DP credits are mostly first AC, but huge on projects. He DP'd a film I acted in. Absolutely. But again, that's how you found him, was working with him. So you sussed out the asshole factor, because you made sure that, you had already worked with him. You knew how efficient it was. And by the way, the first ACs on most projects, like, I didn't know when I hired Rodin to be my cinematographer, I got like a bonus deal on this, because unbeknownst to me, he comes with his own crew, and they will normally, and by own crew I mean first AC, second AC, whoever their gaffer is, and then they may want to even bring their own grips that they've worked with before. And see, so getting your DP set is the most important thing, because they've already sussed out who they're willing to work with and who they're not willing to work with. And my point is, unbeknownst to me, his first AC and his gaffer are also directors and DPs themselves. So I completely lucked out. I ended up with this kick-ass crew because they've made like a deal with each other that they always work on each other's projects, knowing full well that they know how they work rhythmically. They know they don't have to, they read each other's minds. Does this make sense? It's not lots of cooks in the kitchen. They know how to work their own hat when they're on each other's sets. So if Rodin is DP, now he's boss, right, on this film, and those other two, in a good way. Yes, it's cooks in the kitchen in a good way. And so your DP is going to help you build the rest of that crew, because they don't want anybody like, oh, okay, I'm just going to tell you a little trade secret. We hired this guy because I knew I needed some PAs. We were short on PAs, so I had my grip, who had also been sussed out by Jose, had been sussed out, but everybody on set had worked with Jose at one point. Then we didn't have the sound guy. We couldn't decide on the sound guy, but Jose had worked with our sound guy on a ton of projects. And he was like, absolutely, he's reliable. And you know what we did? We got kick-ass sound. And Rodan knew them from other sets too. So everybody was working together. Everybody had worked together. Everybody knew each other from multiple sets. Now, usually, especially if you're getting in on the ground level of something, and you've already established, when you have that meeting with the DP, you talk about budget, right? Because they're going to say, okay, what's the budget on this? And in my case, I just paid them, the rate, and then he told me what each person was going to need on a daily rate. And but if you have like no money and you're just starting out and this is still an experimental short, then you probably can work out a deal where but I will say, it says when these guys work together a lot, they develop a shorthand and can work really fast and do great work. That's exactly it. That's what I meant when I said that they can read each other's minds. They move so much faster moving the equipment around because they've worked together for so long that it saves you time and money in the end. So if a DP says, let's say you have a friend that really wants to do some first AC work and they want the IMDb credit, and you've hired this really good DP, that DP is not going to be happy that you're trying to bring a first AC on that they don't know. They're going to want to bring their own first AC. We needed a second AC because we didn't have enough people. And so what happened was I did get references for both of them, but I ended up, one PA that we got, my husband found because she was doing her own Kickstarter campaign on a film, and I think I talked about that another night, and she came on and she was terrific. And then another guy, Greg Tango, had sent in on Mandy. Sometimes what will happen is you'll put up an ad for one particular position or another, and then other people will start sending you their resumes even though it has nothing to do with that particular posting that you put up. And part of it's frustrating because you're like, really, like I have time to go through 500 resumes? But you might be needing an extra PA or 2 or 3 and find out that for instance, I was shooting in Jersey, that this guy was from my hometown, not my hometown, but the town that I was shooting in Jersey at the time, and was like, I can work that and I can just stay with my mom, and you know what I mean? It'll work out. And he kept saying, I've worked first and second AC. I am my own DP. I work on this particular camera. So if you need, because he wanted a second AC on a red credit. So even though I said, well, I can hire you to be a PA, but since Rodan doesn't know you, I'll have to see. Well, he came on set. He was kick-ass. He was completely efficient. He was busting his butt. He really did know his stuff. He ended up, and Rodan was so happy with him. We were able to make him the second AC and give him that credit that he wanted. So it all worked out. He ended up, we had the first AC really wanted to run the DIT because she was very particular about that. And once she saw how good he was, she was able to hand over the reins to him. So you have to, once you get that DP in place, these other things are going to fall into place. That becomes very important. And for me, because I wasn't directing it, whereas Kathy directs her own pieces. I mean, I would like to direct my own, but I was wearing too many hats for that particular thing, and I really loved Mandira. So I thought this is going to be something that's really going to work out for us, and it did. It really did. Everybody had different strengths, that we made work together. So the PAs. The only thing I got off of Mandy was the one PA, and then I ended up getting the other one through my husband, watching that she was doing a student film, happened to be from this area. He gave her $25 for her film, right, for her film that she was doing at in Boston at her film school, and then asked her if she was going to be home over Thanksgiving weekend, did she want to come and do some PA work. And then she saved her ass. I mean, she was at that school doing so much work with the kids because, like I said before, we had the 28 background that were kids with workers' permits, and the state shows up. In Jersey, the guy from the state shows up on set with the worker permits, so we needed people checking that in, giving all the paperwork, all of that, and then she also did set decoration for us and all sorts of, it was terrific. I had, and Mandira kept saying it too, she was like, wow, we've got the best crew. She's literally, and she picked it, so she should be very proud of herself, but she said, this is the best crew I've ever worked with. There was no trauma drama. Everybody was on time to be picked up in the city to get in the van. We had zero issues with our crew. So, does anybody have any questions about how to go about this that I haven't covered, or Kathy, is there anything you want to contribute, Kathy, that about the crew? Now, post crew, we haven't talked about. This is like crew on the set, right? So the post crew, it was the same type of issue. A lot of people were recommended based on all these people that had worked together in the past. But we actually, Mandira had really created a relationship at a film festival with Sophie Marshall, who had the film that had won a bunch of awards at the Garden State Film Festival. She ended up going to a bunch of workshops because she liked her work, she thought she was great. So she built a relationship and met her. I think she ended up eating dinner with her at one point or whatever, and built a relationship with her, and then said, you know, I don't know if we can afford her or not, but Sophie would be the best person, because she does comedies. She does comedies well. And feeding them well. See, this is the other thing. And my crew said, this is the best food we've ever had on a set. And it wasn't all that fancy, but I had people who were vegetarian, okay? And Mandira, by the way, also had her first AC. But what was I saying? No, first AD. She also had a first AD who she went to school with, who she loved, and he was fantastic, Alberto. So, but the food, what I did was there was a brand new grocery store that's a really nice grocery store, and I managed to really pay attention to the fact that we had vegetarians on set. And I made sure that there was separate vegetarian food for the vegetarians, and that was kept aside, that it didn't get eaten by, you know, everybody else who wasn't vegetarian. There were a couple times where I had to go in and go slap some and say, leave my vegetarians to have their meals. But paying attention to these types of details. If they say they're vegetarian, please just treat them right and get them what they want, and don't look at it as being a pain in the ass. These people are working their asses off for you. They are the first one there. They are the last ones to leave. They are freezing out in the cold. It was for us, it was 35 degrees out, 35 to 30 degrees out, and they're having to be out there for like a 12-hour day and coming into a garage and heating up by a heater. Come on. Feed them well. And I used to have, and this is, in addition to it being healthy food, that I also had like tons of like, pick-me-up snacks. Like, I don't know if you know those brownie bites that you can buy from Costco or whatever. 2 hot meals a day. That's what we did too. Hot. They were hot meals. And then some of the parents of the kids on set were kind enough also to come with like chili and homemade soup. And what a difference that made when it was hot. If you're just always going to do cold sandwiches, it gets old, because these people, remember, they're getting like no sleep for how many days in a row on your set. So you have to make sure that there is something there that is making them feel like they are at home. And yeah, no pizza. Pizza and pasta you want to avoid, because it gets them, it's very carb heavy and it makes people really sleepy after they've eaten it. But if you have something like brownie bites, or just like chocolate chip cookies that crew can run with, a chocolate chip cookie and a cup of coffee. Also, we had a Keurig on set so that coffee would always be fresh every time you were making a crew member. And that's what my husband did. He would actually make the coffee in the Keurig, ask what they wanted in it, and he would walk it out to them. The first AC, the gaffers, the grip, everybody had, like, I remember our grip, Jose, he had this special tea that he did on his own, but we just made sure we always had hot water there for him so that his tea was always hot. If you are taking care of them, they will take care of you, and this is key. And I think I may have told this story before, but we were on set and talking about, wow, this is really going well. My God, how the hell is this going so well? And then one of the sound guys said that he had heard a horror story about another guy, which he gave us their name, who had gone on a set and oh, this is nice. We did Chinese chicken salad, barbecue beef sandwiches, Chateaubriand. Oh, so fancy. We did a bunch of like vegetable, like grilled vegetable platters with mozzarella and stuff like this, so that it's lighter. You know what I mean? Like it's good, and it was hot when it came, which was wonderful, but at the same time it's not going to sit so heavy on them that they're going to be like and fall asleep on you. And then have the pick-me-up food with the cookies, the brownies, the hot coffee for them. All of that goes so they will work more hours for you because they can, because they aren't worn out. So the nightmare story is this guy didn't like, the guy that was the sound mixer on set didn't like the food on set, and so he didn't record the sound that day. He was just ticked about the, I mean, my God. Okay, and this goes in for the non-asshole. Do you know how many of us have spread his name around because we're like, do not hire this guy? So what you have to start doing is you have to start asking all of your friends who are filmmakers, who are in your area, who did you like to work with? Who was wonderful? Who would not get off their ass on set? Who did get up on set and run every time you needed to? You have to ask the people that, you know, your former, and who sucks? That's exactly it, Courtney. Courtney just said it. You have to find out who sucks. But more importantly, you have to find out who's brilliant and who was amazing. And then do whatever you can to court them. Take them out to lunch to have that meeting. Don't just, you know, meet for coffee. If that's the person you know you want, you know, treat them right. And reimburse them for any kind of expense that they have. Sometimes, like, you know, what are expendables? I don't know if you guys know what expendables are, but like for the DP, sometimes they come with all their own light gels or whatever, but like Rodin needed special light gels. Well, of course I bought those light gels. I'm not keeping those light gels. I'm giving them to Rodin. Treat your people right. You know, golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. You know, he wasn't making, you know, tons of money. It says, woo them like it's a first date and you haven't been laid for months. Oh, Courtney. Bringing our whole program down to that good dirty level. I love it. Okay, so this is it. That's exactly it. Treat it like it's a first date, and then when you hire them again, don't make it any less than the first date, or you're never getting married. And that's the truth of the matter. Now there are, just for people that are trying to do something on such a budget, what can you do to make it appealing? What can you do to make it appealing to people that you really can't pay very well? Well, one of the things that I did to make it appealing to one girl was she did not have an IMDb credit. Well, she was going to get one on my film. So I was like, I can only afford to pay you this much to nothing, but I can get you that IMDb credit you're looking for. And what credit is it that you wanted it to say? You know, and I asked every single person on that set what they wanted. Not that I was lying about their position, but what the position, like what title exactly they wanted, so that they are getting the due respect that they also deserve, especially for people who are just trying to build up their credits, and people like us that are going and researching their credits to make sure that they're accurate. You need to, she said, on my web series, I could give people their SAG eligibility. Yes, for actors, it's extremely important. In fact, there's a couple people that want to work with me right now just because they know that I'm going to do it under a SAG New Media contract, and that's going to make a big difference for them to get that if they're non-union and they really want that. So you working with the union makes it worth it for you to get a better actor that you really wanted, because you're going to treat them right by doing their contracts right and set them up so that they can get those credits. Those things are exchangeable. The other thing that's exchangeable, and I brought this book up before because it's a really good resource, but this, how about, you know, have another glass of wine. I haven't even had a glass of wine. I'm sitting here trying to be healthy, which, by the way, is killing me. I'm drinking ice water with lemon. But okay, so no excuse for the book being upside down. This book right here, The Pocketbook for a Lawyer, I don't even know what the hell it says. You can read it. I can't because I'm looking in the screen. Okay. The Pocket Lawyers for Filmmakers has a chapter on contracts and how you can do deferred contracts. And if you aren't able to offer maybe somebody as much money as they are, and you're making a feature, because sometimes like a DP will have done a lot of shorts and they're brilliantly done, but they're still waiting for that feature. If you can make it worth, and they're good, but maybe they're a little expensive because they're doing commercial work and they can make more money in commercials than they can for you. But they really want like a narrative, a feature narrative. One of the things that you can do is like do a deferred payment. And a deferred payment is, you know, please give them something up front, some kind of cash up front. If they're really worth it to you, give them some kind of cash up front, but then offer them a percentage at the end. If for some reason it becomes obvious child, that film, and it becomes this big hit and there is a distribution deal and your film can make money, that those people who are working for very little money for you would have the option of making a percentage of, you know, cost. After all, everything else is paid off. So that's another way to make it appealing. Now there are some people that won't work for that because they're like, the likelihood of that is just, but why not offer? You might find out somebody, and if somebody who's worked for you on your shorts or your experimentals and really loves you and you guys are working together as a team and you want to take it to the next level and you do want to make a feature together, you know, that's when you've already got them in your fan base. You're in their fan base, they're in your fan base. You guys are a family now to work together, that you're saying, let's just all go in this together and we'll figure out a way to work it out, and hopefully we will all make money at the end, but we're all going to get something out of it. But again, you're offering somebody something that they are looking for, you know. So think about it. It says, does Film Freeway connect with IMDb and get the film up there? I've only used WAB for that, without a box, by the way, without a box. Even if they didn't, you can, because I actually don't know that for a fact if they do, because the reason Without a Box gets it onto IMDb is because Amazon owns both Without a Box and IMDb. Fascinating. So that's why it's all connected and very easy through Without a Box, because it's the same company. Okay. So for Film Freeway, I don't know if it automatically gets an IMDb credit, but it doesn't matter. The minute you get in a first festival, or even have a press release that you can prove, like you could do a press release, which by the way you can write yourself, and get into your local schmokel newspaper or an online newspaper, and as long as you can show the article about your film being finished and being done, you can prove that the film is out there. You do have to have some kind of screening, you know what I mean? Like, but you know what? Who knows where you had that screening, right? But as long as you're having, you know, a screening maybe for whatever, and you're announcing it in the newspaper that you're going to do like a private screening or a premiere or a preview or whatever you want to call it of your film, then you can get that released even somewhere online, which you can find a news outlet for that. You can find somebody that's going to publish that newspaper. You all are from a hometown somewhere. And somewhere in that hometown, there is somebody that, and your mother can call and say, can you please put this in the local newspaper? Kathy Carey's going to do a scope on this soon, as she's pretty experienced with WAB and IMDb. Well, we're talking about Film Freeway, because Without a Box, it automatically goes on there the minute. Like, I think it's because I've already been a producer. I think it was harder the first films I did. I think the first films I did have to prove that we were in festival and that we, and then I had I also showed the news article that we had a press release about it, and then I got up. But now, every time I have a film that's out on Without a Box, the minute I put it on there, it seems like it's going up automatically, and I don't know if it's because now I have a track history with them. I'm really not sure, but Kathy Carey maybe has the insider goods on this. So, but like I said, you get the newspaper, and that's a legitimate way to get it up on IMDb. She said it used to be really hard for shorts. Yes, it's much easier now, and especially because there's just there is distribution factor for shorts that there just wasn't before, and people used to really have their nose in the air about shorts, but that's just this is no longer the case because there is a market for it, and for a while. They looked at it as, oh, you're a student, basically. You're not really making a real film here for shorts. But it's really, the snobbery on that is going away because there is a market for it, basically. That's why.